All right.
Good morning, good afternoon,
Good evening, everyone out there. Welcome to our second, that's right, the second A to Z English live stream. So here we are bringing English to you all the way from South Korea for week number 2, and hopefully we'll be doing this for every week. It's good to see a lot of people here in our chat already. We've got Willie here. What's up? What's up, Willie? Hey, hey. Oh, hey. That's how I like to introduce myself as well. So, Jack, we talked about space this week, right? Oh, Jack, I can't hear you. Jack, you're muted.
I muted myself. Sorry about
You
that.
muted yourself.
See, we're already off to
There
a
you
great start. Yeah, we did talk about space.
Yeah, space is cool.
Yeah, I mean
There's the space launch coming up this week as well with the Artemis. Hopefully, will be launching into space. I'm very excited about that.
This is definitely
going back to the moon.
Your domain. Yeah, going back to the moon, man.
It really is my domain. I have my Lego space thing right next to me. I'm a space nerd.
Yeah. So let's check some of these comments now. Obviously, we're kind of messing with our listeners a little bit right now because we hyped up a surprise. And
do we have a surprise this week? I thought we were just going to talk about space.
Oh yeah, maybe let's just talk about space for the next 30 minutes. That's probably more fun, right?
It's fun for me. I don't know about everybody else. No, yes. Are hyping up a little bit of a surprise. Jack, all week you've been talking about a mystery guest, and yes, Willie, Kevin is a space nerd.
Kevin is a space nerd. Nice call.
Very, very much. So, Mike creeping up. I see you there, Mike. You're not very ninja-like in the chat. But anyway, we've been hyping up a mystery guest here, and our mystery guest. Does anyone have any guesses of? You probably won't guess who this person is, but maybe what type of person.
Where's the comment? Because somebody said, "Is it Serena Williams?"
And I did see that comment up here. Where?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
You could probably find that.
It was a bunch of comments ago. Oh, here.
Spoiler alert! It is not Serena Williams.
It is not.
It is not. Could be Venus Williams. I'm not going to say yes or no on that.
Not quite yet. Does anyone though have any guesses? Go ahead and type it in the comment. Oh, Jack, is it your brother? Do you have a brother?
Is it my brother? It is not my brother. My brother is
not your brother.
He's chilling in Maine right now.
He's in Maine. That sounds like a pretty nice. I've never been to Maine, actually. It's
beautiful. I mean, I've never been there, but it looks great.
Lots of lobsters, from what I understand.
Yeah, right. All right. So, what do you think? Should we divulge our secret?
An actress is a good guess. That's a very good guess, and that's a type of person, so it's less specific. It's easier to guess this. Actress, not directly, but there's a certain amount of acting involved in what she does or will do. Is it your daughter?
It is. No, it is not my daughter. Although tomorrow is my daughter's birthday. She will turn 14 tomorrow. That's right.
Well, happy birthday, Jack's daughter.
Yes.
14. Officially into the teenagers. Nice.
Yeah, in the thick of it.
I don't know, actually, Willie, if our guest is a space nerd like me. That's something that we can ask when they...
We will find out for you. Yes, you can ask. Yeah.
But no, let's go ahead and cut to the chase here. And that's another idiom for everyone, is to cut to the chase. So we'll have to make an episode involving that as well. But to cut to the chase, our guest for here is actually not a guest. Our guest is someone that you're going to be seeing very often and listening to very regularly in the A to Z English podcast starting from now. Because one thing that Jack and I noticed is that we're a couple of old guys.
Yes.
And while I try and think of myself as young, it would be nice to actually have a young voice and someone young to talk to while we're here. So our guest today, our not guest, but
Not guessed.
not a guest, but instead a new host,
New host.
a third
Yes.
member of the A to Z English podcast is our very good friend, and here she comes now, So Chill.
So chill.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody.
Yes.
Oh,
So
and Layla, thank you for saying that I am young, though. I'm starting to get back pain
Young
like an old
too.
man.
you do look young though, Kev. You're okay. Yeah.
I
I've
still
got a
have
lot of
hair.
gray in my beard now, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting bad.
So, Socho, um, hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Really quick, and then we'll let everybody else ask questions, and you can see what you want to talk to her about.
My name is Sochil. I met you guys when I was in Korea, and was part of I was a guest for your old podcast.
Yep,
And
that's true.
I was an English teacher and still in
You
that
still
realm.
are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? I think that's it. Oh, where am I from? I'm from the US, Kentucky specifically. And
Hmm.
yeah.
So Robin is asking, I think this is kind of an interesting question. Not how do you spell your name, although actually, let me put the names up here. But how do you pronounce your name exactly here?
Like I guess the Americanized version, which is simpler, like English phonetics, is like so chill, like she's so chill, like that.
Yes. Yeah, so let's type that. So chill, like this pronunciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do people get your name like wrong all the time? I mean,
Yeah.
I think like the
Definitely.
first time I met you was on Facebook, so we hadn't like spoken, and I wasn't sure if it was like xylophone, like
So
Zachitl or something like that. So I was like, I don't know how to pronounce your name. But So Chill is a very cool, like it's a perfect name. You're so chill. So
Thanks. Yeah. So people get it right in Mexico and like Latin America because it's common there. It's an Aztec name,
oh,
but
okay.
it didn't
it,
look Spanish to me so much. Like
yeah, it's
the
not.
TL at the end is not proper Spanish.
Yeah, the TL at the end is typical of Nahuatl, which is the Aztec language. Yeah, so it's Aztec. And yeah, but people in the States, nah, they butcher it every time. So I just Americanize the pronunciation. It makes it easier for everyone.
Actually, I do want to ask you, how do you pronounce it? Just because I like to actually try and get it the right way.
Sochil. Kind of like
So, oh,
Korean vowels are closer.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, the Korean does sound like it'd be more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, you've got a fan of your curly hair already
Oh,
here.
thank you.
Although it's interesting, apparently Grace says you look Japanese. I'm not sure I would agree with that, but I could
I do get that comment. Okay, this is very weird. When I lived in Korea, Koreans confuse me for being Korean all the time.
really.
And until I started talking, then they'd be like, "Oh," but like I
Wait, you're
don't
not
know. I
Korean.
think maybe because I have the mask on, like
Uh,
even so, I don't really see it. But anyway, Koreans were like, and then they'd be like, "한국 사람 같아요," like you look like a Korean person, and I'd be like, "No, I'm American." But yeah, it was a weird experience. So.
that's one thing that I really missed because my first time living in another country, actually, I lived in Europe for a semester, and of course, I look European because I mean my family is from Europe. And so when I was there, everyone would come up to me and speak German or Dutch or whatever country's language I was in. In Korea, no one mistakes me for being a native. You know, it's just like, no, Kevin is not Korean, and I kind of miss people like assuming for a short time, even if you know that I was native of it. So I'm jealous that you had that experience, even if it was only for 10 seconds before you said
Yeah,
something.
before I started speaking, they're like, no.
Yeah, if I don't even finish the word hello and they know, on the phone that I'm not a Korean person. So
Right.
till Ali, can I click on that, Kev? Do you mind if I says, "What is your favorite sport, and what is your favorite football team?" So, are you like do you follow football?
Not really, but I do have a favorite team.
Okay.
So I was born in Iowa, so the Iowa Hawkeyes, that's my favorite team
Nice.
in football. I know
Ah,
that because I was born in Iowa, but yeah, I don't really follow football that much. And then sports, I would say soccer is probably my favorite. I used to play soccer in high school,
I wonder
and
if Allie actually, by asking what your favorite football team, I wonder if Allie means your favorite
I
soccer
think
team.
Ali meant soccer. Yeah,
no,
probably.
okay. Well, if he means my favorite soccer team, Los Pumas from Mexico, which is at Mexico City's university soccer team.
Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, soccer, football is football, maybe not instead of football, is a sport that I like have never been into. I enjoy watching it now that I live in Asia, but growing up in the States, it just really wasn't popular in Arizona at all. So I never got into it.
Yeah, in America, we just, there's not a lot of space for another sport. I think, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like there's not enough room but soccer is so popular to play, right? You said you played it in high school?
Yeah, I was on a soccer team in high school, but
Nice.
I would say the sport itself is not really popular, right? Like people don't like if you're talking with a bunch of men are mostly big sports heads, right? Like if you're talking with a bunch of men, it's like who's your favorite soccer team in the US? Most guys are gonna be like
I don't really know. I don't think I could name two, to be honest.
Yeah, I can like because some Mexican soccer players go and play in the US, right? So like
Oh
LA
yeah,
Galaxy
it's huge in
well.
Mhm.
Mexico. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's the number one sport.
yeah.
It's
But
the number one sport pretty much everywhere except in the US.
yeah,
So
we are
Right, right.
that way.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like baseball is boring. Like it's hard to watch a whole baseball game. Personally, for me, I know this might be sacrilegious for some of our guests out there. By the way, Robin says that I look like a trucker on a long haul, and
I'm
thank
not going to
you.
disagree.
Yeah,
Not
it
gonna
does.
disagree.
That's awful. No, you don't. You don't.
I'm going for that. The trucker look. I have to make one side of my face kind of sunburnt a little bit more than the other side, maybe.
Robin is just watching just to make fun of you, Jack. I think that's why he's here right now. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious. So some of our listeners said here that there's confusion between American and British English, and I can see that for non-native speakers. Do you guys ever, as a native speaker, do you guys ever get confused between American or ever get confused when you're listening to a British speaker?
No, no, but they do.
You know,
I
if they
mean,
say like, "Give me some chips," and you give them like French fries, or you
right,
give them
there are
potato
different
chips.
ones, but I feel like since we're so exposed to like just global language, that we kind of know the things. Like we know fish and chips, we know crisps instead of like what we call chips. They use crisps.
Yeah,
Like
biscuits instead of cookies, right?
yeah,
It's
Mhm.
yeah.
like we
The
know.
only time that I've been really confused is I remember one time because in the UK, it's a relatively small country, but there's so many different dialects there.
Right.
And one time, a bunch of years ago, I was hanging out with like someone from Ireland, someone from England, someone from Scotland, someone from London. There was like 4 or 5 different people with 4 or 5 different accents. And when they were talking to each other, I had to like stop and think about each accent before I was able to go, just because they were just constantly changing.
Yeah, I know my mom's not a native English speaker, right? And I know so
Mhm.
I really like this one show called An Idiot Abroad with Carl Pilkington. He's British. I don't know if you guys have seen this show.
I know of it. I
Mhm.
haven't seen it, but I know of it. It actually looks quite funny.
It's really funny, and I made my mom watch it, especially the episode on Mexico, and she did like it. But I had to like translate some stuff for her, and her English is like basically perfect at this point. She's lived in the U.S. longer than she's lived in Mexico,
Mm.
but British English, she's just not exposed to it, so she like didn't understand some things. And then my dad, when he hears Mexican Spanish, he understands it, but like if we watch a movie with like Argentinian Spanish or Chilean Spanish, he has a really hard time as well.
Mm,
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
there's as many dialects of Spanish as there are English, probably.
Yeah.
Um, so, Layla, Layla says that Xochitl speaks very fast, but Layla, you also said that I speak very fast. So, who do you think speaks faster in here?
There
I'm
you
I'm
go.
curious. And that's also a reminder for me as well. Slow down, because sometimes I can be a little quick. I definitely I do know that.
Yeah, we need to learn from Jack. He speaks at like a great pace for especially for podcasts, I feel like.
Yeah, he's
That's
got the
my
speed to
my
have.
default. Yeah, that's as fast as my brain can move, make my mouth move. Robin says Kevin looks like he still calls his mom mommy.
I'm just sad that Robin doesn't have that kind of relationship with his mom or his
There you
mommy.
go.
Oh, Layla, you think Xochitl's a little faster? Interesting. Well, now it's a challenge.
Wow. Okay.
Who can make it so that no one can understand? But we'll try and remember to keep it slow. And Xochitl, yes, that is how you spell your name.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. So for just to get on topic a little bit. Oh, uh, actually, here, Xochitl, do you speak Spanish?
Yes, I'm bilingual. I grew up completely bilingual, so I don't have any like I can switch between both of them like it's nothing. It's yeah.
When actually, when you say you grew up bilingual, I'm curious, how did your parents do that? Did like your mom speak Spanish and your dad spoke English to you?
We spoke Spanish at home, and I
Does your
spoke.
dad also speak Spanish?
Yes, he does.
Ah, cool.
So we spoke Spanish at home, and then we spoke English at school.
Right.
My
Okay.
mom was very insistent that we only use Spanish at home because otherwise you're getting like a lot more English than you are Spanish.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I grew up bilingual. And we also like live between Mexico and the US. So
Ah. Well, speaking of living between Mexico and the US, is your heart in Mexico or is your heart in the US?
Ooh.
people ask me this a lot, especially like one question you get a lot is like, which country do you like better? I would say that both feel like home in different ways. And there's things I
Mm.
miss about both of them when I'm not in either one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, I've been in Korea long enough now that going back to the States feels like I'm leaving home in some ways and going back at the same time.
Yeah.
So speaking of languages, so you speak Spanish and English. Any other hidden languages? Any other talent?
I speak some conversational Mandarin. I used to be really good in high
Conversational Mandarin.
school, but I'm not really that good anymore. It's been a while. And I speak the very basic Korean, and I can also understand a lot of German. I took one class in
Nice.
high school, and I don't remember most of what I was supposed to say, but I can understand it when I hear
High school language courses are generally basic, and yeah, I took French in high school, and I remember very little at
I
this
took
point.
like 5 years of Spanish and I've got nothing,
it.
it's terrible.
Yeah,
So you're, I
so
mean, what do you call a person that like speaks many languages is a polyglot,
Yeah,
right?
polyglot. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for many languages.
You're,
Yeah.
I'm not
yeah.
a polyglot. Yeah, I
You're not a
think you have
polyglot, but you're creeping towards it a little bit. Seems like.
maybe, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fun to be a polyglot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Socho, you said your heart is split between Mexico and America. Do you think you're gonna come back to Korea? Robin is here in Korea as well, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know. I think I would like to. There's definitely things I miss about Korea. One of the things I miss the most is probably the safety. I was trying to explain this to a friend I went out with yesterday. I was like, I could
Mm.
probably go out like any time at night, even by myself, and feel relatively safe. I don't want to mislead women too much because it's not as safe as everyone says it is, because mostly like you get the male perspective of men being like, I could just walk down this dark alley at like 2 a.m. Don't do that if you're a woman in Korea. But at the same time, it is probably the safest country I've ever lived in. And I
It is
do
very safe.
miss being able to just like leave your phone and bank card and whatever on the table to like reserve your spot basically and leave and
Mhm.
go to the bathroom and you come back and everything's there, or just walk home from the bar at like 1 a.m. or whatever. Not you know what I mean, you can just walk home from it or go to the convenience store at like 2 or 3 a.m. like, oh, I'm hungry, and I'll walk to the convenience store. And here in Mexico, I'd say I wouldn't leave my house past 10 p.m. probably. um,
Mm.
And in the States, like it's also not that safe. So I think that's the biggest thing that I really, really miss.
Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, Korea is definitely a very safe country. Why did you come here in the first place? And I know you're not here now, she has left, but why did you first come here?
So I was working at a law firm as a legal interpreter, and I really hated that job.
Nice.
It was terrible. It was really bad, and it was really exploitative. And I just remember being like, okay, well, I could make almost the same money working in Korea, plus the benefits like are just a lot better. Like you get a pension, healthcare, and everything,
Right.
and an apartment provided for you for free. So that was pretty much like the deal just seemed sweet. And I wanted to travel and just experience some new stuff. And that's essentially why I ended up going to Korea.
I think that's why a lot of us like to start up we come just because it's a decent job, it's a way to travel and live and teach and have some fun. And then for people like Jack and I, we just stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. Yeah, this is my home now. It's interesting to call home a place that you're not originally from. It's a little bit, yeah, it's a little strange. We're kind of. I feel like I'm always in between two homes. Being
Right.
pulled in two directions.
And so,
All right.
Socha,
Yeah.
where are you now?
I'm in Mexico right now.
In Mexico. Where? Yeah, that's and it's morning for you, right?
Yes, it's morning.
Yeah. And this is I think we should come back to this. Uni, you said that she doesn't have a Mexican Spanish accent. But remember, she said not too long ago that she's fully bilingual. Like she spoke both languages since she was, you know, a baby, basically. And so English isn't a second language. It's one of her first languages. Like Jack, actually, your daughter as well. She's fully bilingual in
Well,
English
we didn't
and Korean.
do. We should have. We should have made a rule in the house where you only speak English. Like Socials
Mm,
had a rule in the house, you only speak Spanish. But in our case, my wife and my daughter speak Korean to each other, and I speak English to my daughter. So her only input is from me, and
uh,
and she's a teenager, so she doesn't
doesn't
talk to
want to
me.
talk to dad.
Yeah, she doesn't want to talk to me.
Right.
But yeah, she understands a lot. She can speak a lot, but is it perfect? Probably not yet, but it will be. I think it'll sort itself out eventually.
Right,
Especially if
right.
she lives in the States, she will be able to speak English perfectly. But
Yeah.
yeah, her
That's an
Korean is a little
interesting
stronger.
rule of only one language at home and the other language at school. It makes sense to do it
Yeah, it's a good
that way.
rule. Yeah, it's
I know a
smart.
lot of people here in Korea that do it the same way that you did, basically, Jack, where one parent speaks one language and the other speaks the other language with them. But then, of course, when they go to school, they're going to get extra of whichever language that is.
Yeah. Well,
Robin is, I think, more of a global traveler than any of us here. I've traveled quite a bit, but Robin's got me beat. I saw a list of his travel countries in one of the chats not too long ago.
Mhm.
You have traveled quite a bit, Robin. I am jealous. I try, but I think you've done a lot more than I have.
I think this one's a really good question from Jonathan. He said, Sochil, what is your favorite Mexican food? Because
Yeah.
You're gonna make
everybody
me
loves
hungry.
Mexican.
For
It's so good.
me, mole de olla, I think was my grandpa's recipe. It's like a beef
Nice.
soup with a chile guajillo broth base, and it has choconostle, which is cacti, prickly pear, I guess, and
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
carrots, zucchini, corn, potatoes, beef. Like it's just delicious. It has like everything, green beans, everything you could possibly want is in there. And I remember that if someone asked me like what if I could only eat one food for the rest of my life, what would it be? And I said it would be mole de olla. And my dad said you would live for a long time because it has like every basic nutrient.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all
Right.
just boiling in a big pot and
Yeah.
just a wonderful stew.
That
Okay.
sounds pretty amazing. If you make it
Yeah.
back to Korea, I'd say you should try and make it for me, but I think it's going to be hard to find prickly pear
Yeah,
here.
probably prickly pear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll have to go down to Mexico one of these days and I'll go to your grandma's house and say like, I know so chill. make me this.
Yeah.
Oh,
What food do you guys like? What's your favorite dishes from home?
That's well, Kev. Why don't you go first? Because you're in the Southwest, so
yeah.
there's
I mean, Well, I mean, I miss Mexican food properly because I grew up in Arizona, of course. And yeah, when I first came to Korea, I remember I found like a Mexican restaurant here and it was terrible. In retrospect, it was very bad. This was, 15 years ago. Um, but it was the only place to get tortilla wrapped things. And so I loved it, even though
Right.
in retrospect it was quite bad. I think, although I do miss Mexican food a lot, if I had to pick like one food that I miss that my mom makes, I'm gonna go with that comfort food.
Mhm.
My mom would make a corned beef, basically, and I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a family recipe; it's just something that she made. And you just put this big piece of beef in the slow cooker and just cook it all day with spices and vegetables and stuff. And I
Mhm.
remember coming home from school, and the whole house is just filled with this amazing smell of corned beef. And so I think, yeah, that dish would probably be like the if I could go home today and be like, "Mom, make this for me." That's what would happen.
Awesome. I'm from Minnesota. We just like it's the blandest food with no spice or you know what I mean? Other like salt and pepper. That's spice in Minnesota.
Do you get
So
a lot of cheese in Minnesota? I know Wisconsin does, and they're right next to each other.
yeah, that's true. If you go to the next state over in Wisconsin, they have a lot of cheese. So if you like cheese, it's a good place to be. But I didn't really learn what food, good food tasted like till I moved to Thailand. I love Thai food. It's wonder. Spicy food is the best,
Mm,
especially uh, the little red peppers. And
Mm.
I know our Indonesian and Malaysian listeners out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Those little peppers that are just your mouth is on fire, and
yeah, just burn.
I love it. I think that's a great yeah. It's enjoying eating should be like a little bit pleasurable and a little bit painful. If you can find the two those two things together, uh, you're eating something delicious. I think.
And so here, I've got a question here, and Socho, before I put this question in, I'm gonna mute Jack so he can't see what you say. So
Okay. I think I know what the question is. Who's friendly?
yeah, but don't worry, Jack can't hear you right now. He's
Oh,
been
okay.
muted. So
Um,
you can tell me the truth.
okay, so I would say you're the same. I think you're about the same. Yeah.
Thank you.
Both friendly. Equally
I'm
friendly.
like 10 times friendlier than Kevin. Everybody knows this, our listeners out there.
Jack, I said you
Jack
couldn't
is the
listen. You
friendliest.
couldn't hear. Um, uh, Jack mentioned this at the beginning. Sochil and I and Jack all met. We had a different podcast before we did the A to Z English podcast, and she was a guest on that because she was here in Korea, and we were talking to people about their lives in Korea. So that was how we first met her. She was an English teacher here, and then when we wanted to bring someone else to A to Z English, we remembered, oh, So Chill was so chill and an English
Yeah.
teacher and easy to talk to and young, and we need that. So that's why we called her, and she said that she was happy to come and join us here.
I
And
think
thanks, Diagonal. It's good to hear that you like it.
someone
Nice.
asked about my teaching experience in Korea.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, not as like
Right.
favorable as I have nothing bad to say about Korea. So I do really like Korea, but I think that Hagwons are really hit or miss. And you hear this a lot before going. If you've done any research, there's tons of Hagwon horror stories, and there's people who have positive experiences. But yeah, it's just kind of different, and the work culture is very different, and the work hierarchy is really something to get used to for people from America. Like
Mm,
your boss is kind of a dictator. I mean, that sounds bad. Not every place, but and it's not even necessarily a negative thing. There can be perks if the boss is good, but it's just something that you really have to get used to. And also seniority and being the youngest. I heard about this before I went to Korea, but I didn't know how like hard it is to be the youngest working
yeah.
somewhere
And what's a
until
Hagwon really quick for those of the people listening not here in Korea?
oh, a Hagwon is a private English academy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
private English institute or whatever. Yeah, being young in Korea is very hard. My second job here in Korea, I was teaching at a university, and all of my students, all of them, were older than me because I was teaching this special program. And so I was trying to teach teachers how to be teachers when some of them had been teaching for longer than I'd been alive. And that was very difficult because I was so much younger than them that they just didn't want to listen to me.
Right.
Whereas teaching in the States or in other countries, it doesn't. I mean, if you're much bigger in age gap, there can be some of that, but in general, it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, in Korea, like even a 1 year age gap is a big deal, which is
It can be.
It can
It
be
can
like
be,
it's
it
just
can be.
weird. Like, and yeah, I think the second youngest person was 2 or 3 years older than me, and like that was a big deal. I was in the South, so it's more conservative potentially, as from what I understand from what people told me. But yeah,
That's
I just
possible.
that I was.
Korea, yeah, Seoul is a little bit more open in some ways, just
Mm,
because
A
there's
little
more
more
foreign influence here,
cosmopolitan.
but
Yeah.
a little bit more global as well.
mm.
Nice.
All right. So we hit 10:30, right, Kev?
Yeah, we're here, and I think we've answered a lot of really interesting questions. So just to wrap up for everybody today, So Chill, our very chill new host of the podcast, is not a guest. It's not a guest for today, but that's just what we wanted to tease you with to get everybody in. And so you're going to be hearing a lot more from her and seeing a lot more of her every week here on the live stream. And she will be joining some of the WhatsApp groups as well. So maybe you'll be able to talk to her on there, or on our Facebook, or on our web pages, or anywhere else. So everyone who's here live today, thank you for tuning in. It's been very cool answering your questions. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And for everyone who's listening to this a few days later, remember that you can always comment or add feedback on our Facebook page, on our website, in our WhatsApp group, of course. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, giving us a quick review and a quick
Very helpful.
comment would be very helpful for other people to get us as well.
That's
so
right.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week here at
unthinkable, underhand, a bit like the anti-masons, but without compass and aprons. We work within the boundaries of metaphors compounded. Nobody knows who planned it, traveling underground of the alien's identity.